Greetings and welcome, everyone. How are you all doing today on a beautiful sunny day here in Sedona, Arizona? I want to welcome each and every single one of you to my Saturday Night Live. Now, I wanted to give you guys an update as to what's happening right now because it seems like there are multiple timelines that are coexisting and not everyone is on the same timeline. So today, the title is, Are You Ready to Shift? Okay. We're going to go once again deep. I never focus on surface level stuff. We always go deep diving into, some metaphysical knowledge. And so I'm excited to be here with you guys once again. And I want to extend gratitude to each and every single one of you guys for being here. Thank you guys so much. I also want to extend gratitude to my moderators for keeping the high vibe in the chat. Now, for those that don't know me, I am the author of those two amazing books, The Secret Government, Invisible Architects, and of course, Our Cosmic Origin, which restore vital information, suppressed information back to the earth. And yes, my friends, both of my books are available on Amazon, or you can go to my website where all my links are, ourcosmicorigin.com. Another quick announcement before I get right into it is that I will be presenting at the Rise of the Guardians conference here in Sedona, Arizona at the Arts Center. This coming May on the 9th, I think on a Saturday, I will be on stage at 4:25 p.m. So make sure you guys are there to hear my presentation for those that want to go in person. And also, if you do go to the conference, Rise of the Guardians, make sure you guys get your ticket through my link so that I can get credit. At the end of the live, I always post that link in the description. One last thing, the Folium product. I know I do read the DMs, and some of you guys are saying that according to the website, Folium is not in stock, but that is not true. I just got off the phone with Bob Riorin, and he said that all three Folium, PX, Relax, and of course Immuna are all in stock. So I always put the link at the end of the live in the comments, okay? All right, so let's get right into it. You guys are going to love today's presentation. Once again, we're going to go deep into what's happening right now on the earth. The first thing I want to share with you guys is that there are a multitude of timelines that are actually playing out at this time. And all of this is leading to what is known as a convergence or a trifurcation. So as the planet begins to shift, right? Things are accelerating. One of the most profound yet least understood dynamics that is unfolding behind the scenes is the existence of multiple coexisting Earth realities. So what humanity is currently experiencing is not a single linear reality, right? But a multi-layered field of parallel possibilities. And all of these parallel possibilities are playing out simultaneously within the greater structure of the multiverse. Well, this is why reality at times feels unstable, contradictory, or like if it's accelerating. It is because multiple versions of Earth's future, are actually overlapping at this time. They're interacting and competing for manifestation. Well, in advanced metaphysics, or what they call interdimensional studies, interdimensional physics studies, the universe is not singular either, okay? It is part of a vast multiverse, which is a living matrix composed of infinite dimensions and realities. Well, within this framework, time is not linear, but fractal and branching constantly, with each choice being made in every given moment in time. That's right. Every single choice that people make, every thought, every collective decision creates a new timeline branch, a new probable pathway, or a new version of reality that continues to exist alongside others. These timelines are not illusions either. They are fully real vibrational streams, and each with its own sequence of events, outcomes, and even evolutionary trajectories. According to the secret esoteric systems, and even those that are supported and referenced in the Ascension Glossary, timelines exist across a spectrum of frequency. For instance, lower frequency timelines are corresponding to people's fear, to people's control, conflict, and division. Higher frequency timelines are corresponding to unity, awakening, peace, and expansion. So at this moment on the Earth's evolution, thousands of potential timelines are active, ranging from highly negative outcomes such as global conflict and systematic collapse to highly positive outcomes involving unity, advanced technologies, and interstellar integration. So apparently, so much is happening right now. Would you all agree? Right? Give me a thumbs up if you all agree. The intensity of current global events can actually be understood through this lens. What appears as chaos, in reality, the simultaneous activation of multiple timelines. Some timelines are actually moving towards conflict, war, and fragmentation, while other timelines are moving towards awakening, disclosure, and unity. And still, others exist in transitional states, fluctuating between those two. Well, these timelines are not isolated either. They are actually bleeding into one another, creating what many experience as conflicted narratives in media and society, explaining the division in MAGA, right? Some people are still pro-Trump. Some people have lost their faith in Trump. Also, rapid and unpredictable global shifts, a sense that reality itself is beginning to glitch or accelerating. Well, this phenomena is often referred to as a timeline convergence zone, where multiple possibilities are actually being compressed into a single decision point. Within this framework, humanity is not a passive observer either, because consciousness is the mechanism through which timelines are selected and stabilized. Each individual, all of you, contributes to the collective field through your thoughts, your emotional state, your beliefs and actions. So as more individuals begin to align with higher awareness, well, they are beginning to anchor in these higher frequency timelines, which is what we call the positive timeline, making them more stable and more likely to manifest as the dominant reality. And this is why the awakening is reaching critical mass at this time. It's so significant. It is a direct influence which timeline becomes primary. It is directly influences which timeline becomes primary. Think about that, okay? All right, so while many timelines currently coexist, as explained, according to the Galactic Archives, they all describe an approaching event known as the moment of trifurcation, not bifurcation, trifurcation. It was brought to my attention that there will be a neutral middle timeline. And this is a pivotal point in which the multitude of timelines begin to collapse, where the infinite possibilities begin to narrow into 12 timelines, and I will explain those 12 timelines in a little bit, and then ultimately into 3 primary trajectories. Well, this collapse does not destroy timelines either, but rather it filters and consolidates them into 3 dominant frequency bands. Well, the first one, the 3 resulting timelines, we all know that there is a lower density playing out because of people's fears, because of people's inability to adapt to a cooperative world. This is the path that represents a continuation of the current paradigm, which is indicated by what? Systems of control, hierarchy, and limitation remain in place, where consciousness remains largely unawakened, where technological and social progress continues, but without the deepening spiritual integration. Well, there is a good chunk of humans that are creating that timeline by default of not becoming spiritual or awakened. And these individuals are ultimately aligned with fear, attachment to old systems, and resistance to change that may gravitate towards this negative outcome. And then there's also the transitional timeline, which is what I call the 4D bridge reality. This is a hybrid pathway where old systems are dismantled, but new ones are still forming, where humanity undergoes gradual awakening and restructuring. There is both challenge and growth in this neutral timeline as individuals adapt to the higher awareness. So this timeline is acting as a bridge, allowing for integration and adjustment. And then, of course, there is what is known as the higher density timeline, 5D ascending Earth and beyond. This represents the most evolved trajectory. Unity consciousness becomes the dominant state. Advanced technologies and higher knowledge are integrated with spiritual awareness. Humanity begins to reconnect with its multidimensional nature and their cosmic origins. So this timeline is ultimately characterized by what? Cooperation over competition, transparency over secrecy, expansion over limitation. So there is the collapse that is about to take place and the choice where people begin to go into either three. This is the moment of trifurcation, which is not a random event either. It is the result of the increasing frequency on the planet, the amplification of solar and cosmic energies, the collective state of human consciousness reaching a threshold, a new threshold. And so as this moment approaches, the overlap between timelines will intensify. The contrast between different realities will become more pronounced. Individuals will feel a stronger pull toward one path over the other. And so this is often experienced as a deep internal choice point where one must align with either fear or faith, separation or unity, limitation or expansion. Now, humanity is living through one of the most extraordinary phases in history also. A time when multiple realities are coexisting and the future is not fixed, but fluid. So the apparent chaos of the world is not even the evidence of collapse, but of compression, which is the gathering of countless timelines into a single moment of decision. So when the trifurcation occurs, the noise will settle. The infinite will condense into three, the infinite timelines. And from that point forward, my friends, each soul will continue its journey along the path that resonates most deeply with its state of consciousness. The question is no longer what is happening to the world. The question is, which timeline are you choosing to align? Are you all ready to shift? Right? That's the question I have for all of you at this time. So, according to an archive that I was able to access within the Jupiter Command records, there is, you could say, a paper describing the hidden architects of reality, which I would love to share with you guys. Well, beyond the perception of infinite timelines, there lies a deeper, more refined truth known within advanced interstellar systems. And that is that all timelines, no matter how numerous they are all expressions of 12 fundamental archetype pathways. Okay, what appears as infinite branching realities right now is, in essence, guys, a fractal expansion of 12 core timelines, each representing a distinct frequency band of consciousness and evolutionary direction. And so these are often described as 6 negative timelines, which corresponds to the descend, contracting, entropy-driven, right? Consciousness fragmentalizing, the descent, and 6 positive timelines, which correspond to the ascension, the expansion, and the reintegration of unity. And so together they form the complete spectrum of experiential reality that is available within this universal cycle. Now, regarding the fractal nature of time and the illusion of infinity, from the perspective of higher dimensional awareness, time does not branch infinitely without structure. Instead, it behaves like a fractal hologram where complexity emerges from a limited set of core patterns. Each timeline that you imagine, every version of Earth, every alternative history, every possible future is a variation, a permutation, or what they call a harmonic expression of one of these 12 fundamental or foundational streams, rather. Foundational streams. And in this sense, infinity is not chaos, but ordered multiplicity, where every possible reality is actually anchored to a primary template frequency. The 12 timelines are functioning as the source codes of temporal experience. This concept is echoed in sacred systems across traditions. The 12 strands of DNA, the 12 dimensions of consciousness, the 12 zodiac archetypes, the 12 tribes, the 12 rays, the 12 universal principles. Capiche? So all point towards a universal architecture built upon the number 12, which is a harmonic structure governing both matter and consciousness. Well, let's go over the 6 negative timelines, which are the paths of contraction, division, dissension. The 6 negative timelines represent descending pathways of consciousness where awareness becomes increasingly fragmented, separated, and of course ends up in a sense entropic. Okay, these timelines are characterized by controlling systems or systems of control and hierarchical domination, artificial manipulation of consciousness, disconnection from source awareness, technological advancement without spiritual integration. And yeah, that's all part of the 6 negative timelines. Cycles of conflict, scarcity, and fear. And at their extreme, these timelines lead to total energetic inversion, where life force is harvested rather than generated, complete disconnection from organic evolution. And of course, we don't want to do that, right? Collapse into artificial or unstable realities. And these are not evil in a simplistic sense either. They are explorations of separation, allowing consciousness to experience the full range of polarity. Now, regarding the 6 positive timelines, which is the path of expansion, the path of ascension. By contrast to the 6 negative timelines, the 6 positive timelines represent the ascending pathways where consciousness begins to move towards what? Unity, coherence, and reintegration with its source. These timelines are characterized by harmonic or harmony between technology and consciousness, activation of higher DNA potentials, transparency, cooperative social structures, alignment with universal laws and principles, direct awareness of multidimensional existence. And so at their highest expression, these timelines lead to what? Fully awakened beings operating as co-creators of reality, where civilizations begin to become integrated into interstellar networks, the embodiment of what many traditions call Christ consciousness or unity consciousness. And these are the pathways of evolution through integration, where all fragments of self are brought back into wholeness. Now, what makes the Earth unique in this cosmic cycle is that it is not aligned with just one of these timelines. Earth is currently experiencing all 12 simultaneously. So we went from experiencing an infinite amount of timelines back when CERN was in the hands of the cabal, to experiencing only 12 timelines, 6 negative and 6 positive, when the Alliance took over the Large Hadron Collider a few years ago. This is an extremely rare condition known in advanced metaphysics as a full spectrum convergence field, which is a reality in which every possible polarity, frequency, and evolutionary pathway is active at once. Well, this explains why extreme opposites exist side by side on the planet. Also, why rapid shifts between chaos and awakening are occurring. Why individuals can have vastly different perceptions of reality while sharing the same physical space. Earth, in this sense, is a living crossroads of timelines when you guys think about it. A planetary experiment in which the full range of consciousness is being explored simultaneously. So the reason Earth is holding all 12 timelines at once right now is because it is undergoing a planetary ascension cycle, which is a transition point in which the entire system is being evaluated, integrated, and ultimately reorganized. During this phase, all timelines are allowed to fully express themselves until they separate into the three. All unresolved distortions are brought to the surface. All aspects of consciousness are given the opportunity to choose alignment. And this creates the intensity that humanity is currently experiencing. Emotional extremes, rapid global changes, the simultaneous rise of both chaos and awakening. It is not disorder, it is a total exposure of the entire timeline spectrum before consolidation. And all of this leads to what is known as the compression point towards one of these three streams. The compression point is coming. Are you all ready to shift? Well, as the ascension process continues, these 12 timelines will not remain separately indefinitely either, or separate indefinitely. They are undergoing a process of harmonic compression, frequency sorting, and consciousness-based selection. And this is what leads into the previously described trifurcation event, where the 12 primary timelines collapse into three dominant pathways. And in this process, the 6 negative timelines begin to merge into a single lower frequency trajectory, which is what I've been calling the technocratic dystopian timeline. And the 6 positive timelines, in like manner, begin to merge into a single frequency trajectory, which is what I've been calling the organic ascension timeline. And then, of course, the intermediate expression from the transitional bridge, the neutral timeline. Thus, the 12 become the 3, not by elimination, but by integration and consolidation. Now, at the highest level of understanding, even the division between positive and negative timelines is part of a greater unity. From the perspective of source consciousness, which is the highest level of consciousness, underlying all reality, all timelines are expressions of the same infinite awareness. I want you guys to really think about that for a second. All timelines are expressions of the same infinite awareness. That means all polarities exist to generate experience and self-recognition. The ultimate destination is not one timeline over the other either, but the realization of unity beyond all timelines. However, within the realm of experience, within the human journey, these distinctions are meaningful because they define the path of evolution, the lessons of consciousness, and the direction of growth. Now, all of this is leading to what the Galactics call the final integration. And what that means is that Earth is not just shifting, it is completing a cycle that has involved the full exploration of the 12 fundamental realities. And for the first time in this cycle, my friends, all 12 timelines are very active. All possibilities are now visible. All choices are now available. But this phase is also temporary. As the ascension progresses, the system will simplify. The many will become few. The complex will become coherent. And from that point forward, humanity will no longer be humanity will no longer be navigating 12 simultaneous realities, but will continue its journey along the path that reflects its true state of consciousness. So the deeper truth is this: you are not just living in one timeline right now. You are being capable of resonating with all 12. But as the convergence completes, which is what we call the organic singularity, as opposed to the technological singularity, which means totally something different, you begin to align with the one timeline that matches who you have chosen to become. And it all starts now. So humanity now stands at the threshold of what many ancient traditions and even esoteric schools of thought and modern consciousness teachings have long described as the planetary shift, which is a multidimensional transition in which Earth and its inhabitants are going to be moving from a lower density state of awareness into a higher frequency reality. Well, this is not just a symbolic transformation either, but a convergence of cosmic, energetic, and consciousness-based events unfolding simultaneously across the planet. At the heart of this shift are three converging forces: the intensification of solar activity, the oversight of advanced off-world intelligence, and the rapid awakening of human consciousness that is reaching critical mass. So what's causing all of this? What are the cosmic triggers? Well, for one, the geomagnetic activity that is happening right now, the solar flares, which is one of the most visible physical indicators of this shift that is increasing, of course, in the solar flares, coronal mass ejections, and geomagnetic activity originating from our sun. Well, according to the secret knowledge and in the archives of the Jupiter Command, they often reference the solar flare activities, the coronal mass ejections, the geomagnetic activity with the transition. And why is that? Well, because the sun is not just a star. The sun is a conscious gateway of plasma intelligence that, believe it or not, is existing on all 12 dimensions. Okay, the sun is one of 12, transmitting coded light into the Earth's energetic field. So these solar emissions are often described as light codes or photonic transmissions, pockets of high frequency information that is interacting with both the Earth's electromagnetic grid and the human biofield. Now, according to the Jupiter Command, the solar flares are acting as DNA activators, stimulating dormant strands within the human template. They are accelerating the breakdown of outdated energetic patterns held within the body and the psyche. They are increasing the resonance of the planet, pushing all life forms towards alignment with higher frequencies. And this is why many people are reporting heightened sensitivity, vivid dreams, emotional purging. We talked about that today in my Ascension Basics course, and expanded awareness during these periods of what is known as intense solar activity. Well, the sun, in this context, is becoming the primary engine of the ascension process, orchestrating the energetic conditions required for planetary transformation. Now, parallel to these natural cosmic processes is the role of what we call the Galactic Alliance. Now they're known as the Universal Federation, right? The old infiltration of the Galactic Federation has been restored into the Universal Federation, which is a collective of what? Advanced civilizations and interstellar councils that are observing and have been observing and assisting the Earth during this transition. So within this context, their primary mission is not domination or interference, but stewardship of the ascension timeline. A key concern during this period is the potential for global conflict, which is manifesting as one of the 6 negative timelines, particularly the possibility of a third world war, which would destabilize the planetary grid and delay humanity's evolutionary trajectory. Well, according to the Galactic Alliance, the Galactic Alliance is maintaining a non-interference directive, allowing humanity to evolve through free will, while monitoring the conflict that could eventually erupt into a global catastrophe. And yes, in one of the positive timelines, my friends, there is a potential of global conflict, let's just call it that, that could lead into a catastrophe. So there is a potential for a rising global conflict that would result in the intervention of the Galactic Alliance. All right, so there is a positive Earth timeline where China enters the war, Russia enters the war, Europe enters the war, everybody's entering the war. And at that moment, the Galactic Alliance neutralizes and dismantles all nuclear intercontinental missiles all at once. So there are no mass casualties. And then all of a sudden, we're going to be seeing ships everywhere in the sky, globally, hundreds of thousands of motherships.
I'm down.
I think we're all down for that. But yeah, that's a possibility. And it looks like we might end up in that timeline, which is one of the 6 positive timelines, where it leads into rising global conflict, where all of a sudden the Galactics say, all right, that's enough. Let's intervene.
Let's make contact.
Let's show ourselves and end the suffering. Okay? That is one of the 6 positive timelines. Their presence at this time, my friends, is acting as a stabilizing force, ensuring that the planetary shift continues towards its intended outcome. Okay? So this concept aligns with ancient prophecies that speak of the watchers, of the guardians, of the host of heaven who oversee, I'm good with water, thank you, who oversee the earth during pivotal cycles of transformation. Make sure that there's no flies in here. I completely forgot to cover my water. All right, no access to my water flies. All right, so in modern interpretations, these are understood as advanced interdimensional beings operating beyond conventional space-time awareness, capable of monitoring multiple timelines simultaneously. Well, perhaps the most significant element of the planetary shift is not external, but internal also. All right, ascension is an internal process, my friends, which ultimately manifests in the external. Okay, across the world, millions of individuals are undergoing a process of remembering, and I'm referring to all of you, all the old souls out there, questioning old systems, expanding your awareness, and reconnecting with the deeper aspects of your identity. Well, this phenomena is referred to as what? The Great Awakening. So it is believed that humanity is moving from a 3D consciousness, which deals with duality, survival, and separation, into a 5D or higher state, which is signified by, or represented by unity, coherence, multidimensional awareness. And as more individuals begin to awaken, a tipping point begins to form, which is what is commonly called critical mass, the 100 monkey syndrome effect, or the Maharishi effect. Critical mass occurs when a sufficient percentage of the population reaches a higher state of awareness, causing automatically for everyone else to be in that higher state of awareness. All right, if you guys are unfamiliar with this Maharishi 100 monkey syndrome effect, look it up. It's been scientifically proven. The collective field begins to shift, making higher consciousness the dominant frequency. And in this timeline, old systems that are based on control, fear, and division begin to dissolve naturally. Now, this is not achieved through force either, okay? But through resonance. As individuals elevate their frequency, they influence the collective field, creating a cascading effect across humanity. So, as the planetary frequency continues to rise, systems that are not aligned with this higher resonance are beginning to destabilize, and this includes outdated political and economic structures, hierarchies built on secrecy and control, and of course, belief systems that are rooted in limitation and fear. From an esoteric perspective, this is known as the density purge. The density purge. The clearing of lower frequency patterns from both the planetary grid and the human psyche. Well, this process can appear chaotic on the surface, and it is, would you all agree? But beneath it all, guys, lies a deeper order, which is the breakdown of old systems that are now coming to an end. And this is all necessary. It is a necessary precursor to the emergence of a whole new reality. Now, I don't know if you guys know, but Earth is the nexus point of this transformation that is happening right now at this time. The nexus point. And what that means is that many advanced teachings have described Earth as a unique convergence point within the cosmos, a planet where multiple dimensions, multiple timelines, and genetic lineages are all intersecting at once. And this makes it a focal point for evolutionary acceleration. Now, I'm trying to do my best to not speak too fast because I really want you guys to digest the meat of this message coming from the Galactic Alliance. The planetary shift, therefore, is not just about Earth either. It is about the integration of humanity into a larger cosmic framework. And so in this context, humanity transitions from isolation to cosmic participation. Earth evolves from a closed system to an open interstellar civilization. And yes, my friends, Earth's quarantine has been lifted. It's just a matter of time before we join the interstellar community. Consciousness becomes the primary technology through which reality is navigated. So the choice point is that the planetary shift is not something happening to humanity. It is something happening through humanity. Let me repeat that again. The planetary shift is not something happening to us. It is something happening through us. The increase in solar activity, the oversight of advanced civilizations, and the awakening of millions are all facets of a single unified process. The evolution of consciousness on a planetary scale. Yet within this process lies a fundamental truth. The outcome is not predetermined, it is co-created. Each individual plays a role in stabilizing the new frequency, embodying higher awareness, and contributing to the collective field. As critical mass approaches, the trajectory becomes more clear, but the choice remains personal. And so the question is no longer whether the shift is happening. The question is, are you all aligned with it? Are you all ready to shift? And yes, my friends, today is the 21st of March, 2026. And you know it, we're still on a positive timeline trajectory. Okay, so another thing that the Galactics want me to express and share is that not everyone on Earth is on the same timeline. There are a divergence of realities all happening at the same time, as stated earlier in this presentation. What do I mean by that? Well, as the planetary shift begins to unfold and the convergence of timelines intensify, one of the most profound realizations emerging for humanity is this: not everyone is experiencing the same reality, even while sharing the same physical space. This is not a metaphor either, okay? It is a direct consequence of how consciousness, frequency, and perception interact to determine which timeline an individual is aligned with. So reality as a frequency-based experience is what all this is about. In higher metaphysical understandings, reality is not fixed or objective in the way it appears. Instead, it is frequency dependent. Frequency dependent. Every individual operates within a specific vibrational range determined by your thoughts, your emotional baseline, your belief systems. Belief is important. And your level of awareness, typically. So these factors generate a personal frequency signature, which act like a tuning mechanism, locking the individual into a corresponding timeline. And this is why you could be in a public scenario, walking in the middle of a mall, and be in a totally different reality, even though you're sharing the same space with an unawakened person who's walking right next to you. Everyone is on different realities, even though we're all sharing the same space, all right, because of their frequency. And to give you guys an example, okay, just as a radio can tune into different stations that already exist within the same space, human consciousness tunes into different versions of reality that coexist simultaneously. So there is a sense of the way the Galactics transmitted this information is the illusion of a shared world. Not everyone is on the same Earth reality, all right? From a surface level perspective, think about this, guys. It appears that everyone is living in the same world. However, as the timeline continues to diverge, this illusion begins to break down. And this is the meaning in the Bible, where two individuals can witness the same global event and interpret it in completely different ways. Or when one individual is, planting seeds and the other one in the same farm just disappears, right? I mean, there's so many terminologies to describe this concept. The whole point is this, that every person experiences entirely different emotional and psychological realities based on their vibrational frequency. So this is because they are not truly on the same timeline. They are on an overlapping but vibrationally distinct version of the Earth. Welcome to the multiverse. Well, we are planetary 606, and then there's Earth 709, Earth 1611. And on every parallel Earth reality, there is a different outcome. You are a different person. Just as we've seen in, the Marvel comics movies, right? They're all revealing the true nature of alternative Earth realities. Well, this explains why people can no longer agree on what is real. Why some perceive chaos while others perceive transformation. Why reality feels increasingly polarized. And it's not just disagreement, it is a timeline divergence in real time. I want you guys to really think about that for a second while I sip on my water. All right, so beliefs are not passive ideas either. They are active structures that anchor consciousness into a specific timeline. According to advanced spiritual knowledge found in systems like the ancient emerald records, the CDT plates, and confirmed and validated by the intergalactic records, it is believed that beliefs shape perception, that perception shapes experience, and that experience reinforces the timeline. And so this creates a feedback loop where individuals continue to stabilize the reality they are already aligned with. It's very simple, guys. For example, a person rooted in a fear-based belief may align with timelines of conflict, scarcity, and instability. And they are going to be ending up in one of the 6 negative timelines, which will eventually collapse into only one singular timeline. You don't want to be there, okay? On the other hand, a person rooted in trust, awareness, and expansion may align with timelines of opportunity, awakening, and growth. Neither is imagining the reality. Each is experiencing a valid timeline within the larger multiversal field. Multiversal field. Some of you guys are going to have to watch this a couple of times to really grasp all of this information. And I hope you guys do, because a lot of people don't realize that we are not all sharing the same reality, despite of the fact that we are in the same space, but not in the same reality. Okay? As the planetary frequency continues to increase, amplified by the solar activity and the broader ascension cycle, this sorting process becomes more pronounced, where lower density frequencies become increasingly unstable. They require more effort to maintain. They begin to collapse under their own weight. And on the other hand, high frequency states become more accessible. They feel more natural and coherent, and they begin to stabilize as dominant pathways. And so this creates a natural separation that is often referred to as the frequency sorting, timeline trifurcation, the splitting of worlds, the harvest, the separation of the wheats from the tares. I guess a new term would be, even though it's not found in the Bible, but a lot of Christian organizations allude to it, the rapture. Those are all different terminologies describing the convergent point, okay? But this split is also not physical either. See, most people think that the Earth is actually physically breaking off into 2 Earths. No. The Earth, as a multidimensional construct within itself, is existing on different layers of reality. Very similar to how different radio frequency waves or stations could occupy the same space at the same time. Okay, so it's not a physical split. It is a vibrational and perceptual split. That's what's happening right now. So, why some people cannot see what others can see is the question that I pose here, okay? Think about that for a second. A key aspect of this divergence is that individuals on different timelines may become increasingly unable to perceive each other's reality. And this can manifest as inability to understand another person's perspective, dismissal of information that does not match your own beliefs, a sense that others are asleep or disconnected. And so, from a higher perspective, this is not judgment either. It is frequency incompatibility. Frequency incompatibility. Just as certain wavelengths of light, for those that have studied quantum mechanics, and I have, it's my favorite field of science to study. I am a nerd when it comes to quantum physics, superstring theory, M theory, unified field theory. I love it. Just as certain wavelengths of light are invincible to the human eye, certain timelines are inaccessible to those that are not vibrating within that particular range. So one of the most empowering truths within this revelation that I'm revealing here is that timeline alignment is not imposed. It is chosen. Free will. Free will is important in all of this, right? The ability to choose by virtue of your beliefs, your thoughts, which determine your frequency and your emotions. So not always consciously, but through our daily thoughts is how we make the choice. Through our emotional responses is how we make the choice. Through our internal beliefs. And of course, the level of awareness where we're at. And so every moment becomes a point of selection. Every given second in time, based on your thoughts and your emotion and how your beliefs fluctuate, will determine if whether you are shifting from one parallel earth reality to the next. So it is believed, and again, this is all supported by the secret knowledge. For those that have studied the deep metaphysical secret knowledge, we are constantly shifting from one parallel earth reality to another every given second in time based on your thoughts, your emotions, and your internal beliefs. Every moment, guys, becomes a point of selection that is constantly shifting you from Earth 6061 to Earth 6063 to Earth 7094, you name it. There is an infinite number of alternative Earths. And yes, they're all real. Well, small shifts in perception can actually lead to alignment with entirely different experiences. New opportunities appear, old patterns begin to dissolve, and over time, these micro choices begin to accumulate, anchoring the individual more deeply into a specific timeline reality. So there is a sense of increasing separation as the ascension nears, as we approach the moment of what they call the organic singularity. So as Earth approaches the culmination of its ascension cycle, the gap between timelines will continue to widen, the overlap between realities will continue to decrease, and the difference in lived experiences will become undeniable. So therefore, some will, experience increased chaos, confusion, and instability, while others will experience clarity, synchronicity, and accelerated growth. Okay? So both are real, both are very valid, but they are not on the same timeline. The idea that everyone shares the same reality is a construct of lower density perception. As consciousness continues to expand, it becomes clear that reality is deeply personal, vibrationally determined, and constantly shifting. You are not just observing the world, you are tuning into it, you are interacting with it, and most importantly, you are co-creating it. Think about that. So, and as the planetary shift continues, this truth is becoming impossible to ignore. The question is no longer what is happening out there. The question becomes, what are you aligned with? And therefore, what reality are you choosing to experience? So I end this presentation with the question, are you all ready to shift? Are you all ready to shift? I want to hear your answers in the comments and the questions. I do want to welcome all 3,108 people that are in the house. Thank you so much for being here. I do want to give some shout outs before I open it up for Q&A. All right, I see. Yes, I am. I'm ready to shift. Yes, indeed. I love it. Bring it on. Yes, I'm ready. Ready to shift. So ready. Yes. Ready. Yes. Heck yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I love it. You guys are ready to shift. Awesome. I do want to give some shout outs. I see Trinity in the house. Robin Oglis, Bango, Deborah Morton, Jedi OZ9, Sherry Shoon, John 963. He says he's ready to shift. Nais, Down Burgess, Marissa, Jeanette Bicknell, Christina B. I'm going to try to give some shout outs to people that I've never shouted out before. Noelle is in the house. Mickey is in the house. Deborah is in the house. Lee Starr. Jackie Santana is in the house. Wolf Mother, one of my moderators. Thank you so much for being here, sister. And last but not least, let's see if I could find somebody that I've never given a shout out to. Let's see. Who can I give a shout out to? Dean. Deanna Duncharn. All right, I couldn't pronounce. That's a long name. Billy Weeze, Reveal the Light is in the house. All right, cool. I think I've given enough shout outs, and all 3,000 folks that are in the house. Thank you guys so much for spending your Saturday night with me. I hope you guys like this presentation. Again, if you feel like this presentation was a little bit too advanced or very hard to understand, well, you guys could always rewatch it, let it digest, saturate with a lot of the knowledge that I presented today, because in the end, it's just going to help you in your ascension. Okay. So I will begin by taking Q&A at this time. Q&A. Beginning with, of course, the super chats. All right. So super chats. I do want to welcome Susan K for your donation. Thank you so much, Susan K. That is greatly appreciated. All right, first super chat is coming from, is it Joe Denning 9875? Thank you so much for your super chat, Joe. The next super chat is coming from Orvion Awaken. Orvion Awaken says, I don't know about you, bud, but I'm ready to go. I cannot take it here anymore. I am about to go through my 4th Kundalini rising in 3 days from today. I can start feeling the sun acting right now. Cool. And I've also experienced Kundalini energy going up my spine last night. It was very hard to even sit. I felt so restless. So I had to like ground myself. So yeah, feeling the Kundalini energy rise through your spine is an indicator that you are ascending. I also wanted to thank Anna or Anek Neisher 660. Anna Neiser, I think that's her name. It's so hard to pronounce your names when both your last name and your first name are combined as one word. So I want to thank you. She says, will the first wave of ascension happen before the EBS? your second question is, what happened to the deadline of the 180 days that the Y hats had to tell us that the entire truth? The deadline was up in March. Well, we haven't ended March yet. So I will give an update on that, or who knows. Based on what's happening right now with global tension rising, we might have an early galactic intervention. Again, that is happening in one of the positive timelines. Okay, so I will yeah, we're just going to have to wait and see. March is still happening, March 21st. So I guess we're all going to find out in the next couple of weeks. And to answer the first part of your question, the first waivers of ascension happening before the EBS, I am not sure about that. I am not sure if that's going to happen all at the same time, or we're going to be witnessing the EBS when we transition into the new Earth. So I guess we're all going to find out together.
Along those lines, EBS is scheduled to happen before the Great Solar Flash, which will be happening as a result of you guys activating your light bodies.
So EBS is scheduled to happen before the solar flash, and it's happening as a result of you guys activating your light bodies. All right, next super chat is from Emily. Emily says, my son has schizophrenia. Will he have a problem with the timeline split? I am not sure. I don't really know. I'm sorry. I can't answer a question I don't know. Wow, that's a tough one. That's a tough one. Homegrown knitting. Thank you so much for your super chat. Man, I am beginning to sweat. If you guys don't mind, let me open up my back door and allow some of this cool air to come in because I am sweating. 1 second. It is getting so hot here in Sedona, Arizona. And my central air conditioner decided not to work as good as last year. So I put in a request in the maintenance. Hopefully they come soon. Because at the rate things are going, it seems like we're going to be at 100 degrees pretty soon. All right, where was I in the super chats? So this is a question from Homegrown. Thank you for all you do. Can you cite your source from the executive order that you said Trump signed on the 14th regarding the release of quantum healing tech? Because I could not find it. Also, what happened to Charlie Kirk? All right, to answer the first part of your question, I'm actually going to have to look into that executive order. So once I find out the exact executive order number, then I will share it with you guys again. Now, regarding Charlie Kirk, I know that there are some people within the truther community that believe that he was replaced by the Y hats and that a double was the one that was shot, and that the real Kirk was taken to Valhalla, and he's in witness protection. But I was actually able to get confirmation by the Galactic Alliance that the real Charlie Kirk was actually a martyr, and he is no longer with us. So he was taken out by the Mossad, by the Israeli secret intelligence, when he refrained from taking money from Israel. And then when he started speaking about how Israel through AIPAC has been controlling the deep state here in America, that's when they decided to take him out. But again, you know, everybody's entitled to their own beliefs. Some people think he's still alive in Valhalla. But we do know that Erica Kirk has always been a what is it called? A honeypot for Israel. So she never married for love. You know, she was always an agent, and her family has a history with the Mossad. All right, let's continue here. Rose, thank you so much for your super chat. She says, I was directed to do ritual to Sirius for Sophia Code. Had a profound experience, but I feel sharp needle pain in my left arm, like vaccine pain. Is it normal? I am not sure. You could be feeling something totally different. It could be an ascension symptom. I'm not quite sure why you feel that. So Yeah, I really don't know how to answer that question. Thank you so much, Orvian Awaken, for your super chat. He says, 100 degrees, I am going to die with the Kundalini over the summer. During the winter, I had to have the cold on or it started to become intense. Yeah, when we do experience the Kundalini rising, your body becomes very hot. All of a sudden, you start sweating. You have, like these energy surges. That's the best way to describe it. Energy surges. Thank you, Zerath 888 for your super chat. Is 11th Stargate in Antarctica, and will we see tensions rise there once we finish the Stargate activation in the Middle East? Well, like I mentioned before, the Earth Alliance, in collaboration with the Galactic Alliance, are trying very hard to recuperate the last two Stargates so that the ascension could happen. So I hope that happens very, very soon. Good question, though. And as far as Antarctica is concerned, I did a whole presentation of where all of the 12 Stargates were, I think a month ago. So if you guys go to my YouTube channel, I mean, you are in my YouTube channel. I'm sorry, if you go to the history of my YouTube channel and you go back to about a month ago, I did a whole presentation where I pretty much broke down where each Stargate is. All right, no more super chats. So now I'm going to take random questions. Wait. Kate Adams. Kate, oh, welcome. Kate, I met you earlier in class. Nice seeing you on the chat, too. She wants to know what EBS is. EBS is the Emergency Broadcast System. It is when, through Project Odin, the Y-Hats take over the airwaves, they take over the mass media, radio. They also call it the 10 Days of Darkness, where they play out and reveal and disclose all of the shenanigans that have been conducted by the deep state, the truth about everything. So that's what the EBS is. It is when the Earth Alliance take over the airwaves through Starlink. Good question. Well, this is a random question from Drew Cantrell. She says, how do you know if you are awakened, especially if you have never had an enlightened experience? Thank you for offering amazing guidance. You're welcome. Well, the fact that you are attracted to my content, you gravitate towards this knowledge and information is an indicator, in my personal view, that you are awakened. And one of the things that I wanted to share, which I discussed in my classes today, is that awakening or being awakened is actually a continuous process. There is a thing called initial awakening, and that's when you first begin to question everything, right? You start snapping out of the programming, the conditioning. And then there is what is known as continued awakening, which is what's happening every day. Every day, as we become more aware, as we begin to remember, we are in a continuous state of awakening to our true nature. Good question. This is a question coming from Tabla Rosa 311. What happens to family members who don't align with the higher timeline? And what episode did you talk about the underwater civilization? Well, what happens if you guys, as mentioned earlier in today's presentation, if your family members are not vibing or are not aligned with your frequency, you guys are going to be ending up in different realities. I'm sorry to say that. All right. And it's already starting. All right. You could be sharing the same space at the same time. And based on your internal thoughts, your emotions, and what you believe, you guys could be in two different realities, even though you're sharing the same space. So again, if your family members are not vibing, are not spiritually awakened, they're going to end up in a different timeline than you. Now, this doesn't mean that you're no longer going to see them, because if they're ultimately good people, which I think they are, right? They're not out there causing harm to others like the cabal. They're at least going to go into the 4D timeline, which is the middle timeline. And then that middle timeline, you, who goes into the 5th or above, will have access to that timeline. So yes, you're still going to be able to visit them in that timeline. The only thing is they're not going to have access to your timeline, if that makes any sense. This is a question coming from Ron Safrid. Ishmael, do we only take ourselves and no material possessions when we ascend? Correct. That is correct. So if you guys are still struggling with attachment to materialism, this is the time to detach from materialism. All right, this is another random question coming from Lee Renee 1111. Leah Renee 1111 or 111. She says, should we cut ties with people who aren't awake? Not necessarily, unless, of course, they're negative people who are impeding your ascension journey. Then you cut ties with them, because they're just sucking your energy dry. But if they are supporting your ascension, even though they're not awakened, there's no reason to cut ties. You know, they're going to at least go to the 4D timeline. Zeroth, he says, how soon will the EBS happen? What triggers it? I mentioned that earlier. It is the activation of the star seeds. I think when the first waivers ascend, I think that's when we're going to have the EBS. But again, it's like one of those questions. What came first, the chicken or the egg? You guys want to answer that question? Put it in the comments. What do you think came first, the chicken or the egg? Or did they both emerge at the same time? All right. Let's see what people say. Chicken or the egg? What came first? I want to know what you guys think. No one's saying anything. Okay. Orvion. OMG. Please explain surrendering to me. Something I never understood. What it actually means. When surrendering, do I have to quit my job? Not necessarily. Ultimately, surrendering means not expecting things, just going with the flow. Just allow life to happen, but knowing that you are co-creating at the same time. So surrendering means letting go of the manifestation expectation of things, okay? Just go with the flow, trusting that the universe will provide. That's the best way to describe it. All right, I have another question from Cougar Curtis. You never stated where Stargate 9 is located. I wrote them all down. Well, again, I did a whole presentation on the 12 Stargates about a month ago. So if you want to share it in the chat and remind us where Stargate 9 is, please do. Please do. Aaron Gallagher, thank you so much for your super chat. What's up, Kitty? What are you doing? Their question is, thank you for all you do. If I mailed your books with return postage, can you sign them? I flew from VA to California for the Conscious Life Expo and attended your panel, but you left early. What happened? I had an emergency. I apologize for that. What's going on, Kitty? What's going on, Kitty? Huh? What are you doing? No. There's nothing for you in there. You want to say hi to the Galactic Jedis? Say hi. This is Rue, everyone. This is Ruru. All right, Ruru, go play with your sister. Go play with your sister. Oh no, that's Lotus. I can't believe I got him confused. That's Lotus, not Rue. All right, let's continue here. Thank you, Rose, for your super chat. Your question is, when we move to 5D, what happens to our debt we owe? Gone. You will have no more debt. In fact, in the 5D, I don't think there will be an economy. You see, you have to understand that the QFS is only going to be operating and working within the 4D Earth reality. All right, next super chat, Sun Lemming. Thank you so much. In your opinion, is the Trump administration compromised by Israel? That is a very good question. Unfortunately, guys, there is a timeline, and take this with a grain of salt, all right? There is a timeline where the Trump administration does become compromised by Israel, and they do Israel's bidding. So, as mentioned earlier, that is a very possible reality that is coexisting with our reality. And according to this report, Megyn Kelly claims that President Trump received hundreds of millions of dollars from Israel donor Marianne Adelson to push the U.S. towards war with Iran. Well, there you go. There's your answer. Megyn Kelly, huh? Let's see. The U.S. is rapidly deploying thousands of additional Marines and sailors to the Middle East to defend Israel. Wow, that's not looking good. Why do we want to defend Israel? Israel, well, not the people of Israel. Let me correct myself. I do have some students that live in Israel or that are Israeli. The political Zionist.
That's half of Washington.
The political Zionist that runs Israel is the synagogue of Satan. Let me just make that distinction here. Okay, I have nothing against Israel or Jewish people or people that are Israelite, no, or Israeli. My problem is against the Zionist. That's who my problem is. Okay, which is a state run by the House of Rothschild. So, that is very complicated at this time, guys. That is very complicated at this time. So, I might have to do an in-depth investigation on that to see if Trump is compromised by Israel. And that will explain Kash Patel. That will explain Pam Bondi and all of those traitors within his cabinet, right? Who knows? What's up, Kitty? Why are you meowing? But I'm going to get to the bottom of this, guys, and I'm going to be the first to report on it. So you guys are all, yeah, please do. All right. All right. And this doesn't mean that the Y hats are not real. Okay. There is a possibility because, again, they were given up until March to disclose the truth about UFOs. And if you guys recall, about a few weeks ago, Trump was going to disclose it, and then he didn't. So I don't know. Who knows? Maybe Trump is betraying the alliance. Who knows? Which means that the torch will be passed over to Putin. Putin will be the one that will eliminate the Zionist, the Khazarians, and of course the deep state globally. All right, that's only if Trump betray the alliance. But I will get to the bottom of this because it seems like right now, and I hate to say this, but it seems like, and regardless of what some people say, Trump always puts his enemies in the limelight. He puts he befriends his enemies, right? He puts his enemies closer. But come on, man, it's been going on for a long time, I mean, what's happening here? So again, I will be getting to the bottom of this. Excuse me. I hope that's not the case. I hope that Trump did not betray the alliance. Okay. I hope that's not the case. But I will get to the bottom of this. All right, let's continue here. All right, I'm gonna have to close my back door because the cats are climbing the screen door. And then, another thing, I'm not even in front of you guys. Another thing I wanted to mention is that, um, the White Hats or the Alliance gave the Trump administration a deadline to expose the deep state, drain the swamp, implement the EBS, and bring us into the quantum financial system. And it's been a long time since he's been in office. So um, who knows? I'm gonna get to the bottom of this. I will be investigating this deeply. I'm gonna be consulting with Commander Valiant Thor and the Galactics to see exactly what's happening and why it seems like he's kissing, or I guess he was kissing Netanyahu's butt. I don't understand that. Like, come on, Trump, you should have just punched out Netanyahu instead of treating him like a king. Like, I don't understand that part.
Sending money to aid the war and aircraft in the Pentagon. All sent money to Israel.
All right, a few more questions. But then again, there's also multiple Trumps. There's a deep state negative Trump too, right? Who's shorter and fatter. Carrie Cassidy has described that. So all of this is complicated, guys. This is very complicated. Things are getting very complex. Yes, it has been confirmed that Bibi is dead. That is correct. But that was an act by the Galactic Alliance posing as Iranian troops, right? The Galactics have the ability to take human form. Oh, somebody's saying that the commander in chief of the U.S. is JFK Jr., not Trump anymore. All right. Maybe JFK Jr. is in charge of bringing forth or draining the swamp. Because, I don't know what's been going on, but it's like the swamp was supposed to be drained like a year ago. All right, let's continue here. Experiencing strong vibrations throughout the entire body. This is from MS. When I lay down at night, anyone else experiencing anything similar, ascension symptoms? Well, those are ascension symptoms, what you just described. Well, that is correct. JFK Jr. is Q. That is correct. What are your thoughts on the Ethiopian Bible? Well, I heard that the Ethiopian Bible is the closest to the original manuscripts before they were edited and modified by the Catholic Church. Kate Adams, thank you so much for your super chat. She said, someone said on a different day that the commander you speak with can be contacted by us. That is so true. You guys all have access to the galactic commanders. If you are a starseed, that means that you are an emissary between the Galactic Alliance and the Earthlings. So that is correct. I mean, who knows, guys? As far as I know, the original Trump is secluded in some sort of underground facility and is working with the Alliance. And what we've been seeing in the White House is just an imposter, perhaps working for the. Who knows? Again, this subject is really making my brain go in circles. But I will find out. This is another super chat from the Lionsgate. How do these deep state characters impersonate people like Trump? They are hired actors where they just put on a mask and they look just like the Trump. These masks do exist. They sound like him. They look like him. You can't tell the difference. But what I do know is that, Trump was prophesied about to bring down the old system, the old guard. So, like I said, this is very complicated. Like, I'm 1 foot in, 1 foot out because I want EBS. I'm tired of them dragging this, BS. I'm tired of the continued politics. I'm tired that people like Bill Gates and all these other cats are still roaming around. I want to see public trials. I want to see public executions. And most importantly, guys, I want to see the cabal go down. All right. So, I'm tired of this old, whatever you call it, theatrical drama. I see. We are all tired. Let's go already. Yes, let's go. Yeah, I know. I noticed that the press is using AI to say that Netanyahu is alive. Supposedly, he did a conference yesterday or the day before. That's not the real Netanyahu. If you guys look closely, that is an AI avatar, okay? That looks human. It's not the real Netanyahu. And yes, it has been confirmed that Jim Carrey is not the original Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey was taken out. Who we see today, which looks nothing like Jim Carrey. I don't know if you guys have seen the difference. He was replaced, okay? He was probably taken out. The Jim Carrey that we see nowadays with the long hair, his eyes are bigger. I mean, it doesn't even look like the original Jim Carrey. So I do agree that he was taken out and he was replaced.
Somebody's been asking if you know anything about the star Regulus aligning with the Sphinx in Egypt on Easter. They keep asking.
All right. So for those of you that want to know about the star Regulus, that represents the Orion Council of Light. And if you guys have done your research, the 3 pyramids in Egypt are aligning to the Council of Light in Orion, to the star system of Al-Nilam, Al-Nilak, the Sphinx. I'm sorry, the Sphinx. It is aligning to Al-Nilam, Al-Nilak, and of course Mintaka, okay, which is in the belt of Orion. Well, combined, those 3 systems represent the Regulus star system. It is the Council of Orion. Well, right now, the Pyramid of Giza and that are aligned with the Regulus Council of Light and Orion, they are beginning to activate, okay? The capstone on the main pyramid is about to turn on, and I believe that corresponds with the activation of the 12 stargates. So, is it going to happen on Easter? I am not sure. But it's part of the prophecies, and it's supposed to happen. All right, one more question, guys. One more question. Yes, Regulus is a royal star. That's right. In fact, Regulus is the galactic royalty of the Council of Orion, the good aspect of Orion, those that are in service to others, those that have been fighting against the negative Orions. So they do represent galactic royalty as well. In fact, some people believe that Regulus, there was an entity, a galactic being by the name of Regulus, who was also known as the King of Orion. All right. Well, with that having been said, I hope you guys liked today's presentation. I will see you guys in 2 nights to give a Earth Alliance update. And again, I will have to consult the Galactics and try to figure out what's happening with all of these Trumps and who's who and what's happening. May the God Force be with you all, and I will see you guys in 2 nights for an Earth Alliance update.